GTA, Red Dead, GTA, Red Dead, GTA, Red Dead. Honestly, if you're under the age of 15, I wouldn't blame you for thinking that these two franchises are the only games that the big old R released, seeing as it's been almost 14 whole years since they released a different IP. And it makes sense why Rockstar would focus primarily on these two franchises. I mean, one of them is literally the most successful game of all time, whilst the other is regarded as one of the best single player games ever made. But the wait for another Rockstar game has just been so long that I've started to wish they'd bring back some of their old games. But hey, it's just a few more months now until GTA 6.
Oh, fuck off. Are you taking the fucking piss?
Well then, it seems like I've got a bit of time to go through some of Rockstar's classic games from back in the 2000s and early 2010s. Back when they'd take a few risks like, I don't know, fuck around and drop a full-length, fully priced table tennis game, which still got high review scores. A time where between GTA releases, Rockstar would release a new game every single year. Nowadays, we don't even get a trailer every single year for the new GTA. But today, let's take a look back at when Rockstar made other games. Now before I start talking about the first game, I need to mention that I won't be talking about absolutely every game from them, as this video would be way too long. I've just picked some of my favourites, so I'll be missing games like Smuggler's Run, State of Emergency and Beta-Rater? I think that's how it's pronounced. And I'll also be missing some fan favourites like the Warriors and the Manhunt games. Maybe I'll revisit these in a later video, but for now I only want to focus on about 4 or 5 games, so let's get straight into the first game. That is easily top 5 best main menu screens of all time. So yeah, I'm starting off today by talking about Midnight Club 3, one of the best racing games from the 2000s. Obviously back then, the Need for Speed games held the crown when it came to street racing games, but Midnight Club wasn't too far behind. The first 2 games in the series were okay, but never really offered as much as Need for Speed. They didn't use licensed cars, had next to no customization, and didn't look too groundbreaking either. With the release of the third game in the series, Rockstar San Diego completely overhauled the series' look and style, but kept its fast action gameplay. The major positive of this game has to be its customization. If you go back and play an old Need for Speed game, you quickly realise that the visual upgrades aren't that great. Every car uses the same ugly generic body kits, but Midnight Club uses real life manufacturers for all the body parts and rims, giving the car's cosmetic upgrades a more realistic look. Being able to really make those cars you see in the Fast and Furious movies, or those big over the top SUVs and supercars you saw in hip hop videos at the time, with those massive chrome rims. I honestly could just spend hours in this game just customising cars, listening to that banging background music. The game had such a massive amount of cars and even bikes to choose from, with a whopping 69 in the base version and 94 in the remix edition. Everything from Japanese tuners, luxury sedans, SUVs and European supercars, you had access to it all. You obviously had to progress through the game first, which takes you through 3 different cities across America, these being San Diego, Atlanta and Detroit, with Tokyo being added in the remix edition. Now whilst the gameplay is fun, it can sometimes feel a bit tedious. The races are way more open than something you'd find in Need for Speed. Getting to each checkpoint is entirely up to you, and how you navigate through the busy streets. Also, the AI is no slouch either. They will overtake you and leave you behind in a second if you mess up. The game's arcadey mechanics make for some fun and fast-paced races, especially when cutting through the insane amounts of traffic on the highway. But due to how the cars handle, there's a lack of any drifting or drag events, and it only focuses on one type of racing. I saw a comment the other day that said Need for Speed is a racing game that has cars in it, whilst Midnight Club 3 is a car game that has racing in it, and I think that's what sums up the difference between the two games. There's kind of a story here, but it's very generic. You constantly get updates from mechanics in each city you visit, obviously the most iconic being Oscar at 619 Customs.
You, ese? Listen, I know you like to hang out with the kids.
Did he just call me a nonce? But in all honesty, you can go through the whole game without paying attention to any of it, and you're not missing out on much. Most races in this game are absolute carnage, and feel like they're completely based on luck, and how you've managed to hit the wall as you've turned the corner. The slipstream boost comes in clutch as well, helping you get that last minute overtake just before the final checkpoint. It does make the game have that Fast and Furious feel, as each race has about a split second between you and second place. One more thing I need to talk about is of course that insane soundtrack. The game has a massive varied soundtrack with the obvious hip hop influence from artists like 50 Cent, The Game, Lil Wayne, Paul Wall, plus many others. It's got some great dancehall songs as well from artists like Beanie Man, and some great drum and bass and jungle songs like Renegade Snares by Omni Trio. It's so hard to talk about licensed music on YouTube, but please go and search the soundtrack up and you'll see what I mean. And of course, I can't forget the game's official theme song, the legendary Real Big by Manny Fresh, which I still reference to this day. Push that button, microwave oven. Is that a fish tank bird in the middle of the dash? Yeah, pimper, don't put your fingers on my glass. I shouldn't be doing this. I'm a white kid from Wolverhampton. From the amazing visuals, gorgeous customisation, to the fast-paced racing and perfectly orchestrated soundtrack, there's a lot to love about Midnight Club 3, and fuck it, I'm going to say it's so clear of Need for Speed Most Wanted. And it also had a great PSP port, which is completely identical to its console counterpart. I miss the Midnight Club games, and I just wish Rockstar would bring the series back. I feel like this type of game is what the racing genre needs right now. In 2006, Rockstar would take possibly the biggest risk they'd ever taken in terms of a new IP. They'd make a GTA style game, but take out everything that made those games fun. It's like they sat down in a meeting and said, what makes GTA games so great? The driving, the shooting, the genuine openness of the world, being able to go wherever you want, whenever you want. Okay, so what we're going to do is release a game with none of that, and see if people still like it. And you know what? They absolutely fucking loved it. I'm of course talking about Bully, or Canis Canamedit, which was what it was called in the UK. It was essentially GTA in a school, but before you start getting scared, there's no access to cars or any fully automatic weapons, just skateboards and slingshots. Bully's premise is pretty straightforward. You play as Jimmy Hopkins, a young troublemaker being dropped off at Bulworth Academy, the worst school in the country, full of sociopaths. The game is set up almost identically to what you see in the GTA series, with you doing missions for different people as you work your way up the school hierarchy. But Bully does a lot of its own unique things. First up is the AI of the students. Each student of the school is a character with a backstory, no nameless NPCs, so that means you can have a relationship with each individual student, good or bad, and also see them interact with one another. Throughout the school, the amount of times you walk past and see two characters fighting, or a jock running away from prefects after beating up a nerd, is crazy, and gives the world of Bully some never before seen realism to it. You can walk around the school and get tripped up by marbles thrown by other students, but you can also place marbles at the front of the dorm entrance, pull the fire alarm and watch the chaos ensue. Other than the missions, you can also take part in lessons during school time, which are a bit annoying, as if you get caught outside of a class whilst on a mission, you get dropped straight into the class and have to restart the mission again. The classes do have benefits though. As you play through the minigames, it unlocks certain perks and items you can use throughout the game. After a few missions within the school, the game opens up as you're allowed to roam the streets of the surrounding town, with a ton more to do and interact with, doing missions at a bike store, taking part in bike races, and even going to a fair, taking part in fair games and rides. Bully's art style and music is also a real positive as well. It's a bit ambiguous in terms of its setting. It's supposedly set in modern day, but does lend a lot from different decades in terms of fashion and just general setting. Playing through Bully again, it was fun to see just how well it's aged, considering the game will be 20 years old next year. All of its mechanics have aged well, the general look of it still holds up to date, and it's still so much fun to play through. If you've never played it before, I highly recommend it, and thankfully it's still available on Xbox, PC and even mobile. But I'm not sure about its availability on Sony's consoles. I think it was on the PS4 as a PS2 backwards compatible game for a while, but I'm not too sure now. So if you have the means to play it, I can't recommend it enough. It'll definitely scratch that itch as you wait a whole year for that other game to come out. In 2008, Rockstar San Diego returned to the world of Midnight Club, this time round on a new generation of consoles, using Rockstar's brand new Rage engine, and the game was of course Midnight Club Los Angeles. In all honesty, after playing both games back to back, there really isn't much difference between the two entries in the series, except for LA looks absolutely stunning, and has aged really well. The detail in the car models and inside from the cockpit view look incredible, and just the city itself, full of real life stores and billboards, also the highways full of traffic constantly. It just gives the game this real authentic feel when it comes to its actual setting. It's really hard to believe that this game was released in 2008. I mean, compared to how it looks to the Need for Speed game that was released that year, which had the dreaded piss filter, and you see just how impressive Midnight Club LA is. The game's approach to the story is the same as the previous game. There is one here, but in all honesty, you're not missing out on much if you choose to ignore it. It's just a way to progress through the game, and even though your character now has a voice, it doesn't really change the fact that it's just a bit generic in terms of its story. Gameplay, as I said before, feels very similar to the previous game, as you'll be mostly driving in straight lines and taking really wide corners, so no drift or drag events, just the same point-to-point style races as the previous game, which isn't a bad thing. And even though the AI is just as unforgiving as the previous game, the racing is still just as fun with that classic fast-paced carnage the series was known for. I also absolutely love this game's first person view. There's just something so satisfying about seeing the character actually move the steering wheel around 360 degrees when you turn around a tight corner, as opposed to just turning it ever so slightly. Another thing I love is the little detail when you get pulled over by the cops. Now the cops do have their own issues in this game. They seem to be everywhere and they will pull you over if you go over the speed limit or run a red light, and the cop chases themselves are an absolute pain in the arse. I remember as a kid enabling a cheat code to stop the cops from spawning, because they do kind of get in the way of the free roam, as you just want to race your car around the city without having to worry about cops around every corner. But if you do get pulled over, the little cutscene plays where the cop will walk up to your car. As he gets closer, you can choose to pull off to try and escape. It's a cool little detail, and if I ever decide to start chasing the game, I have to do this first. Hello, so this is the halfway point through the video, and if you're still watching, thank you so much. And also, please consider subscribing, liking the video and commenting down below. My goal is to try and reach 500 subscribers before the end of the year, and I think I'm about 133 away from that goal, so if you could be a part of that 133, that'd be much appreciated. I'll be honest, subscribing to a YouTube channel in 2025 does nothing for the viewer, it's more to do with the creator. At least I'm honest. Obviously most people just watch videos on their homepage and they're recommended, but the only way I will keep popping up on there is if you subscribe and, you know, interact with the channel. So please interact with the channel in any way you can, it's much appreciated. Thank you so much for watching, and I'm going to stop rambling now and get straight back to the video. I haven't even spoken about the customization yet, which is just perfect. The game has a massive variety of different cars and bikes to choose from, and each vehicle has its own unique customization options, from body kits to rims, and even being able to customize the interior for when you go into first person mode. I remember there being an online vehicle showroom where you could purchase other players' customised cars, where people who actually knew what they were doing with the in-depth vinyl editor would upload some impressive designs. I wish I still had my old PS3 save, because I had a shit ton of unique cars I bought from the online marketplace. Speaking of online, Midnight Club LA also had a great multiplayer mode. You were able to just cruise the streets in a lobby full of people, or take part in online races. Now this is the part of the video where I'm supposed to say, sadly the online is no longer active, but that's just not the case. I found the lobby almost instantly, full of people racing and just cruising the streets. If this isn't proof we need another Midnight Club, then I don't know what is. But sadly I don't think the online vehicle showroom is available anymore. Overall, Midnight Club Los Angeles was the perfect racing game. Sure, it didn't have the variety of racing events as some of its competitors, and was lacking in the soundtrack department if we're being honest, but just its feel and vibe of its setting as a whole made it such fun to play, and also fun to go back to almost 18 years later. Now the sad part of all this is the game is only really playable if you have an Xbox console, no PC port and no port to modern PlayStation hardware, but the game is still available to purchase on the Xbox store, which is strange as most licensed racing games get delisted after a few years due to licensing running out. So who knows, maybe we could see a remaster or just a simple re-release of the game for modern consoles. The game also had a release on PSP, but unlike the previous game's port, this wasn't the same game we saw on consoles. Obviously the PSP wouldn't be able to handle what the 7th gen consoles were capable of, so instead we got a standalone experience which was pretty similar to Midnight Club 3, but it now just had the LA aesthetic and vehicle list. The map was also a bit smaller, but to make up for it, it also came with a Tokyo story mode as well, unique to the PSP version, which was also a nice little addition. I really hope we see the return of the Midnight Club series one day, as I think it's just what we need. I'm sick of seeing the same old festival racer genre now, and with Need for Speed constantly being dropped by EA, I think we need something to shake things up in the racing game genre, and I think Midnight Club would be perfect for that. In 2011, Rockstar would release probably their most ambitious game to date, this being LA Noire, a game based completely around murder mysteries set in 1947. Now I have to be honest, when I first played it back then, I didn't like it. Now that is entirely because I didn't really understand what I was buying. I thought this game was Rockstar's answer to 2K's open world story driven game set in the 1940s, Mafia 2, but it wasn't that at all. If you're expecting GTA set in the 1940s, that is not what LA Noire is. Even though it has an open world and there is some gunplay involved, a lot of the time you'll be taking things slow as you look for clues and interrogate suspects about each crime you investigate, for a crazy, highly detailed version of 1940s LA. If you've ever watched a murder mystery show along the lines of Columbo, then that's exactly what you get with this game. Each chapter starts off like a new episode where you see the murder take place, and then it's up to you to play as the main character, Cole Phelps, a World War II veteran now working as a LAPD patrol officer who quickly works his way up through the ranks as a top detective for the LAPD to solve the crimes through different scenarios and lines of interrogation, which, depending on how you tackle certain scenarios, can completely change the outcome of the case you're working on.
And you don't know who shot Gage or why?
No, officer.
A man is dead, Miss Galetta, and it's a criminal offense to lie to a police officer. I ought to take you downtown.
Get out! Get out right now! Send in one of the other policemen if you must, but I won't say another word to you.
It's this progression through the story and the constant new and changing cases that make LA Noire such an addictive game to play. I remember revisiting it back in 2018 when it released on the Nintendo Switch, and I loved playing it. By this time I knew what I was getting when picking it up and fully immersed myself into the world and its characters. Speaking of characters, this game has some pretty impressive technology for the time. Rockstar decided to take the level of detail to a whole new level with the facial expressions of characters, capturing every movement and emotion in the face to help the player tell just from facial expressions if a character is lying or being sincere. Some of these animations look a bit goofy nowadays, as you can clearly tell when someone's making a weird face to show that they're guilty during interrogations, and these interrogations have given birth to some of the greatest cutscenes ever seen in video games, including this classic.
We do a lot of presuming here in the United States, Consul General. It comes with the turf.
You fuck young boys, Valdez.
Are you a madman?
Going back to this game now, it's clear to see why it was so highly regarded when it released. When you go into it knowing exactly what you're getting, a slow-paced, story-driven experience, it becomes such a hard game to put down as you get immersed in its world and its setting. And thankfully, Rockstar re-released the game on modern consoles and PC, so it's available to play pretty much everywhere. There's also a VR version of the game, which I haven't played, but from what I've seen, it seems like a pretty good experience also. If you've never played LA Noire before, I highly recommend it. As long as you go into it knowing that it's not just a GTA game, and that it's its own experience, then you'll absolutely love it. Okay, last but certainly not least, the final Rockstar game released that wasn't GTA or Red Dead, all the way back in 2012. Of course, I'm talking about Max Payne 3. Now I have of course left out the first two Max Payne games as they were mostly worked on by Remedy Entertainment in partnership with Rockstar, whereas the third game was made by Rockstar Vancouver with help from other studios within the company. The best way to describe Max Payne 3 is the closest thing you can get to a John Wick game. If you've never played a Max Payne game before, they can get a bit dark when it comes to the story. I mean, one of the very first scenes in the original is Max going home to see his wife and infant child being brutally murdered, which, you know, kind of sets the tone for the rest of the series. To be honest, it does help to kind of know the setup of the first two games before playing this one, but I wouldn't say you need to know the whole story, just the reason why Max is the way he is. In Max Payne 3, Max is now a security for a very wealthy family in Brazil, and through flashbacks you see Max has been spending most of his time rotting away in a dive bar, still not come to terms with the loss of his family, but after an argument goes wrong, Max ends up shooting the son of a mob boss, and an old acquaintance offers Max a way out, and a new life in sunny Sao Paulo, Brazil. It isn't long until he's caught up in kidnappings and a big conspiracy within the family. Poor Max just can't catch a break. Thanks to the exotic setting, the game takes you to some pretty unique and interesting places, like the favelas, a rooftop of a nightclub, and even a football stadium. Each chapter feels unique, and definitely uses the varied landscape of its setting to its advantage. Whether you're fighting your way through a city, or some abandoned mill in the middle of the rainforest, the game never gets dull. It's not just its setting that sets Max Payne 3 apart though, the actual gameplay is outstanding. On the surface, it's just another generic cover shooter, but the way certain mechanics work just give it such a unique feel, such as bullet time, where you can slow down time for a few seconds to take out multiple enemies. You can do this while standing or behind cover, or the actual only proper way to do it is by doing an action movie dive, which Max will actually just collide or even take damage depending on what you dive onto. The health system is really unforgiving as well. You aren't just a bullet sponge. If you spend too much time out of cover, taking shots, or even get hit in the head, you'll end up dying instantly. There's no regenerative health either. To recover, you need to find painkillers hidden around the map. It's crazy the amount of times you end up scrambling just hoping to find a toilet with a first aid cabinet, just to try and survive the next wave of enemies. The game does a really good job of never making you feel invincible. You always feel like you're heavily outnumbered and always scavenging for weapons, ammo and painkillers, just trying to survive each wave of enemies. The game's cinematic feel also blends seamlessly into the gameplay, making the whole thing feel like one big action movie where you can't put the controller down or even skip a cutscene, because at any moment things can kick off and you rush back into action.
Wilson da Silva. Very good to meet you.
Max Payne 3 was the first game I played in the series, and it was easy to see why these games are so loved, and I respect Rockstar for taking a big risk they took with this game, taking the series away from the moody, cold setting of New York City and replacing it with a sunny and vibrant setting of Brazil, whilst also maintaining the mood of the first two games, was a big risk, and I think it paid off, because Max Payne 3 is easily one of the best third-person shooters I've ever played. It also had a really fun multiplayer from what I can remember. I don't think it's very active anymore, but I have very faint memories of playing it online and enjoying it. Thankfully, Max Payne 3 is still widely available on PC and Xbox, but I'm not sure about modern PlayStation consoles. I don't ever remember it being re-released on PS4, so I'm assuming it's not available on Sony's consoles, which is a shame, because if you've never played it before, you're seriously missing out. Throughout this video I've taken a look back at a time where Rockstar were dominating all genres they went near. It didn't matter if it was racing, shooting or murder mystery. They gave each game the same level of polish and love as their main series. I love going back to play these games over the past couple of weeks, but it is quite sad that we don't really get these types of games anymore. Everything we see nowadays is just content for GTA and Red Dead's online components, and it makes sense for Rockstar to do this, as GTA Online still makes ridiculous amounts of money, so they don't really need to put all the time and effort into making and marketing a completely new IP, when you can just keep updating the same game you made over 12 years ago. To be honest, I don't think any of these games need remasters or even sequels. I just don't think Bully 2 would work. I think a lot of what made Bully interesting was its art style and look, which I don't think would translate into a modern Rockstar game. If any of them would get a sequel, I would hope it'd be Midnight Club or even LA Noire, as I think these games would benefit a lot from modern hardware capabilities. Sadly, I think all we can do now is wait for the next GTA installment, but who knows, maybe after the release of GTA 6 we could see some of the talented studios set free from GTA Online, and we can see them make other great games. But let's face it, 5 years from now, we'll just see them churning out the same old GTA Online shite. I've ended this video on a bit of a sour note, but honestly, all the games I've spoken about today are easily accessible, especially if you have an Xbox or a PC. Sorry PlayStation players. So go and check them out if you haven't already, you won't regret it. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, I'll see you when I see ya.
Why do I get so nervous around? I haven't told on anyone yet.
You!